What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Garry not happy with the UFC. Garry may have come up short against Shavkat Rakhmonov, but the way he sees things, once the UFC started to look for another opponent for Belal Muhammad to fight, they should have gone to him instead of Jack Della Maddalena. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Garry, who was on the wrong end of a unanimous decision in a welterweight #1 contender bout back in December, criticized the UFC for going a different direction in a Q&A video shared on his Instagram account.
Here we go. Why amn't I fighting for a title? I had a chat with my agent and I rang him when I heard when he told me about this news, and I was livid, still am to this day. You know, I had a #1 contenders fight where the guy now has to get knee reconstruction and is out for a year. But you know, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't stab his knee 20-something times and boot the leg off. I'm not fighting for a world title because I'm coming off a loss and they're giving it to a guy who's been injured for a year and they think that's more exciting, but they're wrong. The world title fight was meant to be Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Belal Muhammad for the world title, but Shavkat apparently is out injured. I wonder how that happened. Now they're pulling in a guy who hasn't fought in a year because he's had an operation on his forearm because he broke it in his last fight and hasn't fought in a long time and hasn't been active. So they're giving it to Jack Della Maddalena to fight Belal Muhammad because I'm coming off a loss. That's okay. Don't worry, I'll get you all. You're all mine.
Garry also made it pretty clear that after being passed over for a crack at the belt, he wants to get back in the octagon sooner rather than later. In response to another fan question, he threw out International Fight Week for his next bout.
When am I fighting again? I would like to fight International Fight Week, June 28th. I don't care who, I don't care who they want to put in front of me. I just want to fight and I want to prove that I'm the best in the world.
One man who will be watching the upcoming Muhammad JDM fight closely is Leon Edwards, who hopes that with a win over Sean Brady, he'll wind up right back in title contention. During an appearance on the Ariel Helwani show this week, he weighed in on the fight, praising JDM's defensive grappling skills. If I could put money on it, I'd probably favor JDM. My thing with JDM is his boxing will probably shut him down, and he's a good anti-grappler. Like, you can take him down, but his scrambles on the floor are good. I feel like Belal won't be enough to hold him down for that long. Considering that Shavkat Rakhmonov is expected to get a crack at the belt once he's healthy, depending on how things play out between Leon Edwards and Sean Brady, a fight between Garry and Edwards to decide the #1 contender could wind up making sense. Charles Oliveira rejects fight with Ilia Topuria. After getting back in the win column with a victory over Michael Chandler in November, Charles Oliveira told Oddspedia this week that he's got no interest in throwing down with Ilia Topuria in a lightweight #1 contender fight. Instead, if he doesn't get a crack at the title, Oliveira wants to fight Max Holloway for the BMF belt. The division is very complicated. I think I deserve to be next in line, but I work for Zuffa. There's talk about Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Ilia Topuria. I'm just waiting on the call. I don't know who is next. There's talk, but I just don't know. A fight against Max Holloway would be huge, and I'm confident that it would be me with my arm raised. The first time we fought, I had an injury that stopped me performing. I want to fight for a title either way. Now I'm just sitting waiting for the call. Oliveira also reportedly told Chael Sonnen that although he's confident he gets the win over Ilia Topuria, the only way he fights the former champion is for the belt. Sonnen quoted Oliveira on this week's Good Guy Bad Guy as saying, "I will only fight Topuria if he wins the belt. This is my weight class. I hold a higher ranking. I've been a champion before. This guy's all talk. If he wants to fight me, he needs to come up, get the belt, put the belt on the line, and I'll take him on." Although there have been rumors suggesting that Makhachev turned down a title defense against Topuria, Chael Sonnen isn't buying it. On Good Guy Bad Guy, he said the rumors are nothing but fake news. My first sense is that's fake news, and it's real insult to Islam. I don't believe that Islam's scared to fight anybody, and I think the evidence of that fact would be that he switched opponents and took on Money Moicano with no training camp, no preparation, just because it's the right thing to do, and made sure that the golden rule was followed, which is the show must go forward. I don't believe it to be any more than a rumor. Moreover, I also think it's a little bit insult. While discussing the lightweight division with Oddspedia, Oliveira also spoke about Conor McGregor, whose return has repeatedly been pushed back. The way Oliveira sees things, McGregor probably isn't fighting again. To be honest, I don't know why people are still talking about Conor McGregor. He's done everything he wanted to do in the sport, and now he's choosing to live his life the way he's living it. We've been waiting for him to come back, and Michael Chandler has been waiting for about 2 years, and he hasn't shown up. I think fans should forget about Conor McGregor coming back. He's not going to fight again. Considering Max Holloway's also looking to get back in the octagon on the International Fight Week card, an Oliveira-Holloway 2 fight could wind up being next if a Holloway-Poirier trilogy fight doesn't happen. Bryce Mitchell makes shocking claims against Gene Silva. During the UFC 314 press conference, Gene Silva didn't hold back on Bryce Mitchell, starting an Bryce Mitchell chant before then taunting notable flat earther Thug Nasty with the globe. Ever since then, Mitchell's been plagued by what he says are demonic dreams, and because of it, he's come to the conclusion that his opponent is possessed by, quote, a legion of demons. In a video shared on his Instagram Monday, Mitchell explained the shocking claims.
I need all my Christian warriors to pray for me that I would have peaceful sleep. Every single night since the day before the press conference, I've had demonic dreams. Legions of demons are attacking me every single time I sleep, and not one time have I seen any peaceful sleep since that day. These demons surround me and they try to fight me and provoke me to anger, and then the dream will switch and they'll send beautiful women and they're trying to get me to lust, to cheat on my wife. Satan's using two of my weaknesses to try to expose the evil in my own heart, which is anger and lust. However, where I am weak, the Lord is strong. So please pray for me, especially if you're fasting right now. Please pray that I would have peaceful sleep, that God would send Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, Samson, and King David to watch over me and protect me with the shield of faith. Remember, guys, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness, dark principalities, and evil powers in high places. I'm not just fighting a man on April 12th. I'm fighting a man possessed by a legion of demons. When I simply said the name Jesus, he was provoked to maliciousness, and he started barking like a dog and chanting, you. The days of me fighting for myself are long gone. I now fight for the name of the Lord. And the devil, he ain't gonna waste his time trying to plague a loser. He knows that a victory for the Lord is at hand. I will win this fight in the name of Jesus Christ. The man's demons will be casted out of my presence, and he will fall before me just as Goliath fell before King David. And I know this, and I believe this with all my heart. And God told us if we just have faith the size of a mustard seed, we can move a mountain. And I do. But right now, I need y'all's help. Like I said, where I'm weak, the Lord is strong, and he will use y'all to show his strength right now. And I trust in the power of the church. I trust in the power of Jesus Christ. And please pray for me that I would have peace when I sleep. And I love y'all. And remember, if you're going through anything, this is what the church is for. You're not a coward for asking others for help. So God bless y'all, and please keep me in your prayers and your thoughts, and I love you. Amen.
Of course, as many fight fans know, Silva oftentimes barks while on a microphone, including during his post-fight celebrations. In response to the video, Sean Strickland weighed in, suggesting Thug Nasty goes to therapy to make sense of the dreams. I love Bryce. Don't hold this against me, but therapy would do him wonders. Every time I had an intrusive thought, I thought, oh, it's the devil. I'd lose my mind. Intrusive thoughts aren't the devil, Bryce. Probably just fight anxiety manifesting itself in up thoughts. Late last night, Gene Silva reacted to the video as well. He took to X to write the following. Bryce, 2 things. These are not demons. It's just you being afraid to face me, and second, about the beautiful women, you have a hormone called testosterone, and you probably have problems with it. Just be ready for April 12th, because I will be. Another UFC fighter by the name of Charles Jourdain also reacted by saying, Gene definitely has a powerful aura, but demonic feels out of touch. He is very respectful outside the cage. Whether or not the bad dreams wind up playing a factor in Mitchell's upcoming fight with Silva on April 12th, only time will tell. As of right now, Mitchell's sitting as a pretty comfortable betting underdog heading into the fight. Bo Nickal talks about Reinier de Reader fight and UFC rankings. When the UFC heads to Des Moines, Iowa in May, Bo Nickal will be throwing down with former one champ Reinier de Reader, who's picked up back-to-back submission wins since joining the UFC last year. After a dominant but lackluster win over Paul Craig back in November, Nickal will look to keep the momentum rolling against a seasoned veteran when the two share the octagon. On the heels of the UFC's fight announcement, Nickal made a virtual appearance on the Ariel Helwani show this week to preview the matchup, revealing he was the one who asked for this fight. This is a matchup that I asked for. It's a matchup that's exciting for a lot of reasons. He's had a lot of success in other organizations, had success in the UFC, and it's a natural step up for me. This is a guy that has a proven track record and many finishes. It's an interesting matchup. It's a similar matchup to the Paul Craig fight, where he's got more of a jiu-jitsu style. I think obviously him being on a winning streak and also just having a different type of style on the feet, I think will prove to be an interesting fight. Nickal also spoke about falling off the middleweight rankings, despite initially getting a number next to his name after beating Paul Craig, and from the sounds of things, he's pretty unfazed by the situation. I mean, to me, the rankings are all just marketing. We have guys that are number 7 fighting for the title, so no shade to them. That's a great opportunity. But if the rankings are what rankings are, the guy who fights for the title should be number 1, maybe number 2. Considering that RDR is currently ranked 13th, if Nickal gets the win, come May 3rd, he'll likely wind up firmly in the middleweight rankings. Leon Edwards talks about Sean Brady fight. This weekend at UFC London, Leon Edwards will look to get back in the win column and re-establish himself as a title contender when he steps into the octagon with Sean Brady. Ahead of the fight, Edwards spoke about the late notice change in opponents after the UFC decided to pull JDM from the card and book him a title fight against Belal Muhammad. The way he sees things, although Sean Brady brings a totally different style to the octagon, it's one that he's familiar with and, more importantly, comfortable with. It's a style that I'm used to. This is what I've been fighting now for many years. He's a short boxing, wrestling kind of guy. It's something I'm used to. It gives me a chance to go out there and prove to the world that I am who I am, the best welterweight of all time. He's just another guy in my way. When Edwards steps into the octagon this weekend, it'll be at a normal time, as opposed to when he and Belal Muhammad made the walk to the octagon in the wee hours of the morning. As he told Ariel Helwani, the timing of his fight with Muhammad was a huge factor in his lackluster performance. I just feel like my reactions were slow. I could think in my head what I wanted to do, what I trained to do, but for some reason, my body and my mind just wasn't in sync, as it is in normal fights. I walked out at like 5 a.m. Even though he got the win, it was still a close fight on my worst day. It's like I think he won 3 rounds, I won 2 rounds on my worst day. The way Edwards sees things, if he and Muhammad shared the octagon 10 times, he'll win 9 of those fights, and UFC 304 just happened to be the one he lost. It was upsetting. It's just a guy I know I can beat 9, 10 out of 10 times. I beat this guy. He got the one time. It was more just about knowing I could beat this guy. If he's able to get the win over Sean Brady on Saturday, Edwards could be right back in the mix for a crack at the belt. Marvin Vettori calls out Brendan Allen. Marvin Vettori might have downplayed a fight with Brendan Allen going into his fight with Roman Dolidze last weekend, but in the wake of his loss, the Italian Dream feels like a fire's been lit under him. In a post on social media on Monday, Vettori called out Brendan Allen to a high-stakes fight to decide who gets to retire who. Saturday sparked the fire again. 21 months out was a bit. Angry Vettori might be back, lol. Time to win some fights, Allen, before I see you outside. What you doing next? Who's gonna retire who? Vettori was, of course, referencing the altercation that the two got into over the summer at a PFL event, where Allen came in with a barrage of punches and was clearly winning the brawl before things got broken up. Considering the fact that Allen had ripped Vettori for being ranked 7th back in January, it's safe to say he's probably gonna jump at the offer to throw down with Vettori inside the octagon. Dana White releases fighter from the UFC. This week, the automated UFC roster tracker notified the fight community that Soyul Kim was removed from the UFC's roster. The move comes as somewhat of a shock to fans, considering that Kim had not actually set foot inside the octagon. After back-to-back victories on One Friday fights back in 2023, Kim got booked to fight Eduarda Moura on the UFC Fight Night Almeida Lewis card in Sao Paulo that same year. Instead, that fight got cancelled because of contract issues. From the sounds of things, Kim couldn't get out of her contract to fight in the UFC, and so she wound up sitting on the sidelines ever since. The 8-1 strawweight is set to fight on the AFC 37 card this weekend in Vietnam in her first fight in over a year and a half. Footage emerges of Dricus Du Plessis frustrated with Alex Pereira losing. Dricus Du Plessis reacted to Alex Pereira losing against Magomed Ankalaev at UFC 313. And before we continue, we have a favor to ask. Help us reach 200,000 subscribers on MMA Zone by subscribing and turning on notifications for daily MMA content. Seriously, we rarely miss a day. In a recent YouTube video on Jackson O'Doherty's vlog channel, DDP was clearly frustrated with the decision, thanking Magomed for taking away the biggest payday of his life with a fight against Pereira. DDP also made sure to let Alex know that his aura is gone now, and even if he rematches Ankalaev and wins, there's no reason for the two to fight anymore.
It's just that I want the only that's not going to fight me anymore. Oh! And he wants to go down to middleweight. Thanks, Ankalaev, for taking the biggest payday of my life. It's nothing personal.
It's completely ruined any potential fight of you and Alex now. Unless Alex comes back in a rematch and starches him, then it makes sense.
No.
Yeah, I guess.
Or go on.
A fight with Alex Pereira was obviously something that Dricus was looking forward to. If you recall, both agreed backstage at UFC 312 that if they won their next fights, they would fight each other, and Alex lost, meaning it's off the table. As for Alex Pereira, Magomed is already calling for a rematch. He wrote the following on X this morning: "Alex, when you're ready to go again, you deserve this." Do you think Ankalaev actually took away Alex Pereira's aura? If he wins the rematch, will it put Alex right back in the same position he was in before? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.